Okay, it is 8:30,
That's how you do it.
so I'll call this meeting to the Jefferson County Board of Supervisors to order for January 20th. And would entertain a motion to acknowledge and approve the minutes of January 13th.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Wayne?
Good morning, supervisors. Had a bit chippy out there today.
Chip.
Guys, chips?
Wait till tomorrow. This will be a heat wave.
Yeah, so last week, the bridge crew from Iowa Bridge and Culvert poured the 2 bridge support piers. Cows monitored the temperatures over the weekend. They're well within their specifications, so as long as they pass this testing this morning, they'll be able to get started on working on their columns for the bridge.
Be done by Friday.
I doubt it. And I would anticipate this week they're gonna spend a lot more time trying to stay warm than actually getting steel tied, but I can't blame them for that.
Yeah.
Do they actually show up when it's this cold?
Yeah, well, because the creek's still flowing and it's above the grade of where the footings are, they've got to constantly pump to keep water out of the coffer dams around where they have the footing. That helps it helps keep the concrete warm. They've got blankets, insulation blankets around them so that they maintain their temperature. You know, even as cold as it is, the temperatures underneath those blankets can be upwards of 100 degrees.
Wow.
That's,
I need
you
one of those
get
blankets.
that big mass of concrete hydrating, it generates light. And today, as it's getting near its 4-day hydration, you'd anticipate it still be in the 70s. And the spec is it has to be above 50. So just the mass of concrete really helps hold those temperatures up, you know, because of insulation lines aren't all that thick, but it generates light.
You're still calling for 30 degrees by Wednesday?
That's just, so it'll be nice and sloppy, so I'm sure we'll be spreading rock by the end of the week on some places that aren't fit. On the bright side, our IDOT fuel tax deposit for this month will be upwards of $300,000, so it'll help the bank account and leave us just under $1 million in our bank account, 960, 970. We haven't seen those lofty levels for quite some time. I'm sure we'll be utilizing some of that minor op, but that's just kind of the way it works. Last week, I met with city council at Vedic City. They wanted to discuss and question me about the county's plans for the joint routes around the city. Had about an hour and a half discussion with them about what we can and can't do. And I wouldn't be surprised if some members of the council don't start attending Board of Supervisors meetings. As I told them, it would probably be a good idea that you guys were at least familiar with it so that when they had questions that you could put a face to a name on the phone and had some type of relationship with them.
So is there anything specific they're wanting done, or they're just,
Oh, gosh, they'd like us to do everything, but they understand that we have limited funds. They've got, we did some work on Jasmine 2 years ago now when we did the chip seal. And I talked with them about that was going to be our preferred method of extending our pavement lives for the asphalt pavements going forward, but that with our budget the way it is, that we probably for the next couple of years just be doing maintenance on their roads. We visited a little bit about grants and what the county can and can't do to help them out. So they're going to need, they've got, as any town, they've got a lot of things they'd like to do, but they're going to have to pursue grants on their own for a lot of the stuff that they want to do, but the funding sources that they want are there and available for smaller cities. And I need to, at some point in the near future, go visit with the Lockridge City Council and talk to them about the work we're going to be doing on 218 later this summer with our chip seal project. I'm just fill them in on what's going to happen so that they're not in the dark. Later this week, Wednesday, our mechanic, Brian Davis, Jess Rauscher and myself are going to go over to Greene County, visit with them. They have a pretty good supply of Sterling truck parts. And those are the trucks that we're going to try and extend their life. So we're going to see what Wade has in his parts room and what we can make use of. But that'll pretty well shoot the whole day Wednesday for the three of us. So it's a 2.5 hour drive one way to get there.
Where's Greene County?
About 45 miles west of Ames
Okay.
on Highway 30, Jefferson, Iowa. We get a lot of calls from them because people think that Jefferson, Iowa is the same as Jefferson County. I had a guy call me and ask me about one of the little towns in Greene County. And I said, I've been here 3.5 years. I've never heard of that town. And we got talking a little bit more, and yeah, it was because it wasn't in our county. And I've resurrected our paperwork on bidding out fuel for the county. Going to visit with Jess and Brian, and with the input from a bunch of other counties, I have a lot of other counties' forms to try and massage to make them work for us for the way we do our fuel, delivering to the small above ground tanks that we have. But hopefully I'll have that ready by next week's meeting for you guys to approve, to put that out for bid. I think that's all I got, folks.
This bidding, you do it once every year or 2 years? What's
Well, a lot of the counties do it for the year with the option to extend it a year. Some do it just once every 3 years. I'm open for suggestions. This is something Jefferson County has not done in the past. They've just always used Kyle, and they do a great job.
At one time, they did put out bids and I hadn't seen them come through in the last couple of years. That's why I was asking.
Yeah, so we don't have any paperwork on it, so it's been for a while. It's been a while.
Quite a while back,
So is it when you lock in a rate?
It's, the IDOT has a page on their purchasing department where they have what they call the rack rate. So that's the average of fuel prices across the state. So the bid will be set up a margin over the DOT rack rate average for the previous week. So if the average is $3, that it would be $3 plus X. And that's what you would bid on. So each time you get fuel, it would be different, just like it is, and for the general public, but it's tied to the rack rate and then plus the margin. So what they're bidding is their margin for delivery and profit on top of what the DOT average is, which should be what the local suppliers are paying for their bulk material.
You have a tank you can bring in a transport load at a time?
No, that's the thing, is most of our tanks are 500 to 2,500 gallons.
Oh.
So they're all
brought with just a delivery truck, then not a
Delivery
transport.
truck, right?
Okay.
And so. The nice thing is we don't have underground tanks, so we don't need to worry about the underground fuel liability. But the downside of that is you have smaller above ground tanks. So it's a little more transport heavy than we just had a big 10,000 gallon underground tank that you only need to fill twice a year. Any other questions for Lee?
I don't have it. Thank you.
Josh,
All right, good morning.
short sleeves.
Hey, at least I have my jacket this time. It's a little chilly to not have a coat. All right,
You're kidding me. I would.
just a little bit, just a little bit. Staffing looks pretty good right now. We still have one medic off on, medical. She'll be back, I think, February 9th. She'll return. Once she gets back, we're at like 93% fully staffed. So I still have like every other weekend, I have a Friday, Saturday paramedic, and then there's a Wednesday EMT slot open. I think still, other than that, we're pretty good. So here in the near future, we'll be able to cut back on overtime and extra shifts for a lot of staff, and kind of get some of our PRN staff to pick up those openings still. So with that, we also had 2 inquiries about jobs. So I'm going to push out a couple applications. One of them just wants PRN or part-time. The other one, I'm not sure. She was kind of vague in her request, but we'll get some more information there. So we're still getting people trickling in that want to come work for us because we're awesome. I think there's a resolution for a pay raise for critical care paramedic, Jessica Kim. She's somewhat new here. She just completed her CCP certification and it's active on the website. So hopefully she'll be able to pick up more over here now that she's not going through that, because it's a very strenuous course. I'm sure you guys are aware. So the request there is the $1 increase in pay.
So we need a motion on this, correct? Right now, I move to accept it. Second.
Any discussion? Guess I should read the resolution. So it says, discuss and consider pay adjustment for Jessica Kim paramedic, critical care paramedic, Jefferson County Ambulance Service, with an effective date of January 15, 2025, and an hourly rate of $27. There's been a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oh, I know. I have to ask you. When our medic comes back, we have to schedule a physical.
That was a question I was gonna ask you guys. I don't know exactly how that works. She's been cleared by her physical therapist for both her wrist and her back. So do we have to do another physical for her, or is that, I don't know.
You should.
That's
Yes.
just-
If you do pre-employment physicals, and I'm assuming this is a personal medical issue.
Yes.
Even though you have their declaration, what happens is, unless she did, unless she took her job description in, that physical therapist, her personal physical therapist is just releasing her to go back to life. They're not releasing her to lifting the patient.
Okay.
And performing CPR, and those pieces. So they need
Okay.
to go back to, run them back through a pre-employment physical.
Okay,
You're gonna
perfect.
call it a fit for duty test, and if you need help, either Jack or let me know and I'll help you. We'll
Okay.
talk you through the HR side of it too.
Perfect.
I know we had discussed that.
Yeah. I'm glad you're here. Thank you.
Yeah.
Were you talking?
Yes. I'm always glad you're
He
here.
speaks for all of us.
That's right. Cool. Yeah, I'll let her know. she
Obviously,
needs to-
the cold has finally got to you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll let her know she needs to do that. Cause she had asked about that and I wasn't sure the answer. Moving on, ongoing conversations regarding transfers out of Jefferson County, trying to figure out how to reduce the unnecessary transfers and figure out how we can actually get paid for the trips we take. So that's been fun. I met with the ER, participated in an ER staff meeting on Wednesday with them. Just to kind of explain some of the things that we were seeing that weren't getting paid, non-essential transfers that didn't meet ambulance criteria, those kind of things. So we're trying to figure out how we can move forward with that, but I have a pretty good working relationship with Stacy Worley out there. We kind of see eye to eye on most things, I think, so that's nice. On that note, I would, and I'm just looking into this, to see if we can outfit one of our ambulances for bariatric patients. So large, obese patients. We had one, in the ER over the weekend. I didn't think our equipment could suffice. Turns out it could have. That's on me. But the patient wasn't quite as big as I thought they were. So anyway, if we got equipment that could haul safely, all bariatric patients, there's potential there. We could run transfers for surrounding services as well. That's a specialty transport, which would almost guarantee pay. But our equipment now is okay. We can safely lift about 500 pounds with the cots. But if we had a bariatric patient or a bariatric setup, we could lift 700 or 800 pound patients and haul them safely. So it's a little different setup, wider cot, wider wheelbase, those kind of things. Like I said, I'm just now looking into it to see what information we can get from Stryker to be able to potentially outfit one of our rigs with that.
So, but it would still be usable for, I hate to say it, but I can't think of another word used for under normal circumstances.
Yeah, it could be used for routine stuff as well. And I know they have a new power cot out that is capable of lifting, I think, 700 pounds, which, and I think it's a little bit wider. It's not a true bariatric cot, but it's a little bit wider base, that may work for most of those situations, but yeah.
So would we use, I don't know, a heavier motor, heavier battery and all that to pull the cot in?
I don't know all the details. So historically, the bariatric equipment was, it was a special cot that was wider. They wouldn't work with the power load systems we have. So that's where I'm trying to figure out all the details. But it required a winch system and ramps to be able to pull the cot up into the rig. So with the power load and all those the newer stuff, I don't know what that's going to entail. So I'm just asking the questions right now with Stryker to see what we can do, if it's even possible.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
What percent of our population in Jefferson County or surrounding contiguous counties would need something like this? Do you have any idea?
I can tell you Wapello County has a significant number of patients. That,
Do they have a way to utilize this?
I think it would be used. Because right now, to my knowledge, the only specific bariatric transport is out of Iowa City. And I think there's one with Midwest and Iowa City, and then Des Moines. So, I mean, even if it's something we don't use a lot, just to have that capability and offer it up to surrounding counties, I think we would benefit from it.
So this would be, I don't know, 99% of the time would just be transports.
Right,
Would be a 911 situation.
right. Yep.
Is this the first time you've run up against this roadblock or whatever?
Here, yeah,
Is it?
yep. And it was, incidentally, it was a Wapello County patient that was at Jefferson County. So I know over there we've hauled 600-700 pound patients routinely. So
What would be the price on something like this?
that I don't know. Like I said, I'm just now
So it looks
asking.
like you have more work to do.
Yeah,
with
for
this.
sure.
Okay.
I just now asking the questions,
Mhm.
based on the incident this weekend, so.
Also, would not only, and I'm asking this in the form of a question,
Mhm.
it not only benefits obviously the patient, but it would also benefit our personnel,
Oh, for sure.
less likely for injury on their part.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's something we could have used the last year and a half.
Yeah.
Thank you.
52 or 2016 with 230,000 miles. I don't remember. 200 plus thousand. Goes in for inspection this week, trying to look at that rear end that was damaged when it was under, was it Midwest or Care, one of them. See if we can get that looked at. It's going to Fessler's and Southeast Iowa Diesel this week. And then after that, our PM is going to get a quote on it. Just to see what they can do, if they can do anything with it. I have no idea. I'm not a car guy, but we are going to get it in to gotta see what they can do with it. My biggest issue with it, I've taken it out, driven it around, those kind of things. It rocks really bad when you're driving. Other than that, it handles really well, but that rocking is incredibly noticeable, especially for the patients. It would,
This way or?
like front and back. Yeah.
What
Um,
road were you on?
What's that?
What road were you on? That might have been my fault.
Well, yeah, so I mean, I took it around on the highway, just around, and then just going through town and took it into an empty parking lot and did some stuff with it.
Mhm.
It handles really well as far as maneuverability, but long distance road trips and things like that, it's rough for the patients. So,
So I have a question.
Mhm.
You going to Fessler's first,
yes,
and you already planned to go Southeast Iowa Diesel?
yes,
And RPM.
yes. So just for quotes, just to see,
I would be really interested in seeing how much those quotes were from different
Yes.
places.
yeah, and if you have any other suggestions on where we can go for work.
He's got a nice shop.
He
I
was
do,
doing
but I don't
work
do
there.
that work out there.
Jeez, guy. But so, yeah,
There's another repair shop that Iowa Truck Repair next to Fessler's.
oh, yeah, I was gonna
Correct.
call, I did call them and I
Yeah.
didn't get through, so I'll call
Okay.
them again.
Yeah, Jason does a lot of work out there.
Okay, yeah,
Is that the one just west?
Just west
Yeah,
of
I
Fessler's.
just-
thought that was the one you said there's something diesel.
no, Southeast Iowa Diesels,
Is Merlin Miller.
Oh,
Eric.
okay.
Yeah, mine from me. They're pretty pricey.
are they? Okay, I don't know.
Okay, I don't care.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'll get a hold of them as well. Like I said, I called last week and didn't get through. Yeah, other than that, we got our new uniforms,
Oh, good.
black and orange,
Short sleeve.
weird short sleeve,
I wondered why you were wearing those colors.
right?
I thought he was a Trojan supporter for the high
That's
school.
why we went this color. It's weird for me
They
to
look
wear
nice. They look nice. I'm
something
glad
other.
they're not red and white.
You'll be all right even at the peak of the game.
Okay. So, cool, that's all I've got. Any questions for me?
No, you're doing a good job. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Okay, discuss and consider credit card for auditor's office. So Abby can buy her copy or what?
So,
That's just for sign up for conferences. Cost for those, hotel meeting. Instead of paying for it by yourself and then getting reimbursed.
I understand that. Are you thinking any certain limit on that or?
We wouldn't need high, we don't need that, I mean, and we get paid right away, we just take the money to the
Sure,
Midwest One Bank,
sure.
pay it.
Are you thinking 5,000? 500?
Like maybe 1,000? If even that,
Is that just for your office or it wouldn't
Yes.
include us and stuff?
no,
Okay.
Generally, you know, when they send the bills and stuff, it's better to have just a little bit higher, so you get a little bit of cushion in case you have two things happen back to back.
Yeah.
I was
Because
just
you
gonna
have
say
to
that.
cycle through their payment system. That's what we found at the road department.
okay,
And we have specific policy in the health department on how to use the credit card, so you can use it. I think ours is either 5 or 10,000 to that point. And it does take a little bit of a process to get it approved, because a business credit card is a little bit more challenging to get a personal credit card. So they'll help you at the bank. They're really great to help us. So it's really nice to have the credit card though.
You know, Christie, I do think you should have one. I think 1,000 is not enough.
Yeah.
In this day and age, you go get ice cream in town, it's gonna cost you more than that.
Well, I don't utilize my credit card for that, just for the good.
I mean, that's
Just to
an
clarify.
option.
I don't know what Dwayne does, but.
Okay, Chris,
I'm gonna need a,
Chris
limit
is not
increase.
buying today.
So
Just saying.
Senator Cowboy here, Christie, you said something about Midwest One Bank, but is that where we bank?
Mhm,
Oh, I thought we banked with another bank.
mhm. First National
Used
Close.
to have a different name.
Okay.
and the benefit of it is, they'll let us just take a check right to them,
I
so we don't
forgot
have
that,
late
right.
fees or
Yes.
anything.
I forgot that. too.
So what are you guys thinking about amount? Because I think we should have more than 1,000 in the credit card.
Well, it's not gonna be abused. I'd say 5.
I agree with Joe.
Christie, that okay? 5?
Yeah. Perfect.
All right.
Is that a motion?
I'll make that a motion
I'll second.
What? We make a motion.
that they get a credit card with a limit of $5,000.
I'll still second that.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Discuss and consider Jefferson County Sheriff's Office to hire correctional officer Amanda Hine. Hope I did that right. Whereas Iowa Code Section 331.3, number of deputies, assistants, and clerks for each office shall be determined by the board, and the number of approval of each appointment shall be adopted by a resolution recorded in the minutes of the board. Whereas Jefferson County desires to hire a correctional officer, therefore be it resolved by the Board of Supervisors of Jefferson County, Iowa, that the Jefferson County Sheriff is authorized to hire correctional officer Amanda Hine. Be it also resolved by the Board Supervisors of Jefferson County, Iowa, that Amanda Hine is hired as a correctional officer, Jefferson County office, at a starting salary of $44,154.81 annually, effective January 3rd, 2025, with the start date of January 3rd, 2025.
I would ask the question, Lee, so we've already been paying her?
I don't know.
Okay,
She's working for free.
No, Abby seen no.
okay.
Said last week or whenever that they are very behind.
Okay.
How does that work?
It's been that way forever.
Oh. Glad to know I'm up. Thanks.
So that means she still started on the 3rd. We aren't gonna pay her until last week?
She won't be paid until January 30th for the time.
Yeah, motion to approve.
I'll back up.
All right.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Joe. Joe, second.
You're good, buddy.
All right. Discussion? More discussion? Additional discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All the same sign. Thank you. Stacy, come
Yes,
on
sir.
down.
All right. So
Kind of like the price is right.
Yeah, I know,
Yeah.
right? You have to jump up and down and clap and everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Please do.
Not today.
That required. vote
Not
for-
today. So I just wanted to give you guys, first of all, a quick update on the safety committee. So your committee has been meeting monthly. They have been doing an amazing job. As you guys know, a couple of years ago, you were able to absorb your ambulance service into your workers' compensation without much of an increase in premium. That is due to the hard work and the diligence of your safety committee that meets every single month. They get together, they discuss what needs to be done. They take those things and do their best to try to get them done. So I just want to say kudos to your safety committee that works very hard every month. What we're looking at, we run on a fiscal year. So your new premium and all that information, will come out. It'll come out the end of May, but the policy period starts the 1st of July. So we have preliminary numbers done, meaning the experience modification factor, which is a big driver in your premium, takes a lot of numbers into account, is going to remain the same, which is good. Anytime there's no increase, we call that good. Our underwriter is predicting that your premium will be about the same. There is some decreases in rates nationwide, so we take those into account as well. So the decrease in rates, and then there's an increase, and it's not all class codes, but then your increase in payroll because of cost of living and whatever else you guys do, they usually even each other out, so to speak. So we always tell anybody that's not taking a major swing increase or in payroll, whether you're going up or down, then it's usually a wash with the decrease in rates. Last year, the county made some adjustments in how they allocate their premium. So instead of, I believe it was a percentage, it doesn't really matter, but instead of having a percentage for your information, each department paid, I believe it was, or some departments paid a percentage of your workers' compensation premium. The rest of it just came out of the big pot, and that was the end of it. When we got to talking during the safety committee meetings, I said, we probably need to allocate this a little bit better. So let's make those responsible for, when you're paying people, there's a work comp premium associated with that payroll. It's a percentage of whatever their job duties entail. So let's make everybody responsible for their own. So I think last year was the first year, and I believe Darcy was probably ready to kill me at some point, but she got everybody allocated. So everybody that you guys meet with that has their own budget, they have their own line now that says workers' compensation. You guys are well into our discount rating plan. So I believe what Darcy did with our underwriters' help and direction was, take your overall premium and then take payroll associated with those and then the job duties. And I'm sure it was a headache on her part and kind of worked with those. What that was across the board. Everybody got the same amount of discount. So I'm just going to toss some numbers out there because I don't have your stuff in front of me. But if Jefferson County was allotted a 30% decrease because of the discounts that we offer, every department was just given 30% off of what their premium allocation should have been, straight up numbers. In talking with the safety committee and looking over claims and doing incident reviews, I brought up the possibility of doing what's called cost of risk allocation. So what that does is that takes your bare minimum premium. So workers' compensation, that experience modification factor, works on a 3-year rolling premium. So we take into account your payroll, your job duties, and it's a rate associated with those. But then on top of that, in this formula also is claims that you've had and whether those claims have time off associated with them, whether return to work and modified duty is utilized, we benefit from those, and then we take those costs. So we take all of those, throw all of that into this formula that makes that experience modification factor. So what happens now is we're saying with cost of risk, we're saying, for instance, public health didn't use any workers' compensation in those 3 years. So if it had been just, knock on this. So if it had been just them, they would be at that bare minimum and reaping all of the benefits of that discount. However, and I'm just gonna throw you on the bus. Here comes your bus because you're the roads guy. You're sitting by the side. So on the other side, all of the costs that were associated with the increase from you guys not being at that minimum, because you're up here, were because of the roads department. So why should the public health workers' comp line go up when they didn't do anything? it should be over here with the roads department. So what cost of risk does is because your premium goes up when you use the system, it says when you use the system, your department is going to pay more, which is going to give you guys a better picture of where your workers' compensation claims and trends lie. Because when you bring your department heads in, I'm assuming you have a line from, what it is current year and then what the next year is looking like. And when Darcy does these numbers, which we'll help her out much better now. We have a better system for her. When we help her out with those numbers, you can blatantly see department by department who's utilized. So you may have a steady workers' comp, and because we're just introducing it this year, it wouldn't make sense. But from this year coming up beyond, you'll be able to see those trends. You'll be able to see that, okay, our overall premium is the same, but in the roads department, it went up. So obviously they're the ones utilizing. Where's our safety problem in the roads department?
It trends the accidents, the departments, and then you see it's never a personnel issue, it's usually a process issue. So then it focuses on what kind of quality improvement process needs to be put in place for safety. Because nobody wants to have a career-ending work comp injury. We don't want to have a fatality in the workplace. So it helps twofold. It trends those, and then it's assigned the cost to the correct cost center. We talked about this for probably, 20 minutes, 15 minutes at the last safety meeting.
Yep.
And as a member of the safety committee, I'm very glad that it was distributed accordingly across the board to respective departments. Obviously, you have a higher risk based on your job, whether it's law enforcement, EMS, roads, those are much higher cost of risk jobs. So as a department manager, I appreciate the fact that it's distributed that way. And then we can see, what it's costing my department for work comp. But I don't know how everybody else feels, but I think it's the only fair way to appropriate the expenditures, in my opinion. And we, as a safety committee, we review all of the injury reports, and those are discussed at the committee confidentially. So, I don't know. I've been on the safety committee a long time, and so I'm excited that we got this moved forward.
So I got a
That you remember.
Yeah. So I got a question. So it might predominantly be more, we might see it more in the ambulance or in the road department because they're out on the road. But in the event that there is an accident, a vehicular accident, somebody didn't pay attention to the flashing lights, it could be our sheriff's department. We just recently added a situation in the sheriff's department.
Okay.
I believe it was a sheriff's vehicle, but
In the city.
in the city, okay. Anyway, my point is that obviously it's an on-the-job injury. As a result of an external source. And I'm assuming, and I know what happens when one assumes, but I'm assuming that you will subrogate the other party's insurance in an effort to recoup your losses.
Absolutely.
Okay. How does that affect our mod rate?
So once we get the money back, once that recovery is made, whatever we spent comes back off. So it would, if that makes sense. So if we spend $100,000 on a claim and we are able to subrogate, we're never gonna get 100% of it, but if we're able to subrogate like 80% of it, so only 20,000 of that claim would go to that experience modification factor. We would retract that 80,000.
But during that period of time, we're paying a higher mod.
If we don't get the money back. Now, everything lags a year. So
Okay.
what's coming on, when I say you guys stay steady, the premium, the allocation from the year going on is 23, 24. So you're 12 months behind due to some of that. We want to make sure that we are as accurate as we can be. Now, are we quick? And sometimes it ends up in a legal huge process. Sometimes it doesn't come back that quickly, but it would be adjusted on the backside. More commonly in our world is actually maybe not it could be a vehicle accident that, we end a claim thinking that, hey, we did physical therapy, we're feeling better, we're golden. And then about 6 months down the road, it's starting to hurt again. So then the $100,000 claim that went on to your mod actually increases to 200,000. So the second year in that rotation, actually it goes up. That's what, I actually have another one of my members right now that has that going on.
I just always wondered because you pay a higher premium, but was not a direct result of anything that our folks did.
Yes. There's lots of factors that attributed to subrogation. I mean, number one, I just experienced this in my personal world. The other person has to have insurance, but if you don't have insurance, there's nobody to go after.
Right.
And then they have to have, there's caps and there's limits and there's all these other pieces that come into play too.
Yeah, just.
So I'm busy.
So I think you were at the meeting
I was.
when we discussed,
Yep.
and you send a representative from your department. So do you have any questions as far as how
And
that's
that's
okay?
on, just I see your name.
I like it. I agree with it. I mean, like you said, it's fair. If my people are getting hurt and your people aren't, why are you paying more?
Right.
So yeah, I'm all for it.
Any other questions?
You're doing a good job. So are you, Chris.
I just guide, so it's all on it's your employees that are doing it. I mean,
It's called herding.
it
You do
is,
a good job.
sometimes.
All right, guys, back on track.
Right?
Sounds like a great
struggle.
Yeah, I mean, they've increased their meetings from, 60 minutes to 90, just to be able to talk and discuss things. Melissa's doing a great job, keeping track. She's the secretary. She's keeping track of everything, which when those work comp claims come in, she's making sure that they get logged and making sure that we're getting some follow-up from the departments as far as what did they do. And then we're taking it a step further and we're saying, this is what the department did. Does the safety committee think there's more that needs done? So they're on a great track and they're doing well. And the thing is that they take what we speak about and we discuss and I recommend and they go with it. I don't have some of my other places that are that forthcoming. They choose to stick with their own way.
Well, I should follow what she recommends, right? Because she's our rep, right? And she's got all the info.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer, Chris.
Yeah, well, the one thing I do want to make a comment on is, we are continuing to work on the return to work process. That seems to be something that we'll need more input from you guys and approval. I know Elizabeth was working on that as a committee. We discussed that at the last meeting. So, to get people back to work when it's a work comp injury, whether they go to another department. And we've had that conversation a couple different times. It just seems to be a little bit more of a hurdle to get through sometimes. So, because some departments have a lot of jobs that can be done on light duty, other departments not so much. So that'll take more discussion, but we are continuing to work on that, just so you know.
And the reason that the big discussion centered around return to work is that when you look at your experience modification factor, the claims that attribute into those, if you have a claim that is medical only, so we're only paying for medical costs, doctor visits, to and from doctor visits, physical therapy, we're just paying those medical bills. That person is still at work in some capacity. We take those dollars and we discount them by 70%. So only 30% of the dollars that we spend get attributed to that experience modification factor. That helps keep that low. If a person is off work, so we're paying their wages, they are on what's called indemnity. If you see that word float around in our paperwork, if you have an indemnity claim, we take 100% of those costs and those go into your experience modification factor. So not only is it 100% of all of the medical costs that we spend, but it's also 100% or 66 2/3% of what that person makes. So we're taking medical costs and wages and putting all of that at 100% into that experience modification factor. And remember that year that it happens, it goes on to your experience modification factor, and then it stays on, and then it stays on again before it drops off. So we have a lot of questions as far as, well, I pay for your coverage, why don't you pay him to sit at home? And we will, but we are a pool, which is why we're able to keep our rates and our premiums low. So we have to get our money back somehow. So, you are going to pay for it sooner or later in some capacity. Not to mention for that employee, you get them going to work at the same time, coming home at the same time, still seeing people like they're normally used to every day. That's much better for them in their healing processes than letting them sit at home and watch it. Be an Abraham commercial about how much money they think they can get. So there's lots of different facets to that return to work program. It's beneficial to you and your employee.
I have a question. I apologize if you've already covered it.
No.
Their department is at higher risk for injuries than Chris's department. Does it cost them more than it does Chris's end because of the occupation?
Yes, so your roads department, they fall into different categories depending on what they're doing each day. But generically, they're what they call a 5506 cost code, which yes, does have a higher rate. So he's charged, and I'm just putting numbers out there, I don't have them in front of me. So he's charged like 7% on his per premium, and Chris is charged like 0.7% on her premium for like her office manager, because she comes in and sits and works here and then goes. So yes.
All right, thank you.
So those are taken into account as well. So even if their payroll was the same, their premium is going to be significantly different. With the new rates that they put in, we were told that I think you're actually the highest class code now. Roads is the highest class code. They're more expensive than your law enforcement email. Wow. Right. Because of all of
Law
that.
enforcement would be higher.
Because some of it has to do with the controlled environment, that a lot of times your law enforcement, because it includes your on the roads people, but actually your more of your payroll is actually residing in your jails in that controlled environment, where these guys are almost strictly in an uncontrolled environment. And especially with the risk that they're under now with distracted drivers. You know, if I'm a distracted driver and I'm driving along, the chances of me hitting a squad are minimal compared to me hitting one of his people that's trying to work alongside the road.
That's why we have rumble strips in front of our flaggers now.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
That's nice.
yes. Yeah. There's a lot more technology that they're coming up with these guys.
And you guys are always, who is our assigned supervisor? Susie, is it still you?
Mhm.
Okay, all right, I wasn't at that meeting, so, and anybody's welcome to come, the supervisors, you guys are always welcome to come with you to the meetings, whatever you wanna know, we're happy to share
This
that.
is, well, it depends.
Yeah,
They move
yeah.
it around.
And I think we're auditors, are we, Abby, or,
I think we're going to the county attorney's office, to Elizabeth's department. But there was a thing that Melissa sent out, I don't know, Dwayne, is that something that you're recommending, should that be our safety committee in February, is my question?
Well, February 12th is our county meeting for Safe Streets for All grant for our road safety program that I sent all of you an invite to attend the morning session of, which is I think from 8:30 to 11:30, where we'll go over with the consultant, safety consultant, and the grant writer on the DOT incident report for all of our routes in the county. And then we will want the input from ambulance, law enforcement, public health, and you guys for anything that doesn't get captured by the DOT accident incident report, to get your feedback and input so that we can have a safety plan for our roads. And what that does is that allows us to, going forward, to get federal safety grants that we are not eligible for some federal safety grants until we have this plan in place. I don't know if it would be beneficial to have all the members of the safety committee there.
I don't know, that's what I'm asking.
I think
Most of us are department heads or their designees, so I didn't know.
the
What's that date again?
February 12th,
Well,
I believe it's a Tuesday, I'm not positive.
That's a Wednesday, and that's our,
Yeah, because it's general
They all come out.
Yeah.
So,
at your office?
yeah, we're gonna have it in our conference room.
Making.
sorry, I didn't mean to digress, but I think it's important to bring it up.
And I appreciate that.
Yeah.
But I would like you there,
Okay,
and you would do that, so.
okay.
8:30?
I believe 8:30. It's in the email.
It is. I think it is 8:30.
I
It's
know. I'll
just like
have
a
to
half
double
an hour
check.
before the safety meeting starts. That's why I'm asking that question. I can have conversation with Elizabeth since she's kind of the chair too, so, okay.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I'll resend it again here later this week,
Send it to you.
just as a reminder. But yeah, all the input we can get from, you know, ag communities, it's not just paved routes either, it's rural routes, gravels. You know, any place that there's an issue that needs attention that isn't going to be captured by the DOT's program would be beneficial.
We put that on February 10th agenda in the event that all three of us attend.
Oh,
Yeah. Thank you.
doesn't have to go on, no.
Huh?
Doesn't have to go on,
Oh, well,
but I will.
okay.
Anything else for safety or Stacy or I, or we appreciate everybody's support on the safety committee. It's fun. It's a fun meeting. We have a lot of respect for each other, and it's always interesting to see safety from a different department head's viewpoint and what they do to keep their people safe and the customers in which they serve. You know, we all serve the public, so it's just in a different capacity. So we don't want somebody, you know, let's just say in conservation, you know, somebody on a trail to get hurt or whatever. So we have to know that process too and what to do to keep the public safe as well. So
So
thank you.
like herding chickens.
I'm sorry, what?
This is like herding
It's
chickens.
some days it's a little bit more challenging than others, so we appreciate your
Say
support.
Chickens, yeah.
Cats.
Huh?
Is that, does that say
Cats, yeah.
discuss and consider?
Now, if you have chickens, you can
No.
get the cats.
Oh, yeah, chickens would be terrible.
No, but it's, you already allocated, it's just a
Yeah.
matter of how Darcy puts it on the budget,
Yeah.
it tells you to. So,
Anyway, for your consideration during budget process, that's the ask, since it's not on the agenda. And just to circle back.
Darcy does have, I emailed a copy of her to, I believe, I apologize, I forgot to verify, it popped into my head over the weekend. She does have the county's cost of risk allocation, I believe it is for the upcoming premiums schedule, not the current one. So she has kind of those numbers and how everything lays out.
Any other questions?
Oh, me. Thank you.
You're
Appreciate it.
welcome, anytime,
Thanks, Stacy.
yes.
Thank you very much. Steve.
Committee reports?
I had an ag extension council meeting, but that doesn't apply to this. We're just still discussing the fair that's gonna be in June. The Semco meeting, we gave, Bill a 3% raise. That involves several counties and cities voting on that. I can tell you that the financials for the Semco are very good. I'm sure you're all aware that Mr. Wynn passed away.
So,
Yeah, his wife was there to talk to us a little bit. And he had talked to us before Thanksgiving about his situation. He's made sure he has set up a continuance plan. And that's worked out very well. Didn't go to the cattlemen's. We've had several budget conversations. That's it.
I went to Des Moines on Wednesday, to the ISAC meeting at Prairie Meadows. It was a 2-day conference. I just attended the first day of that. I went to the Cattlemen's Banquet, Walton, the other night. Very good turnout. It was quite interesting. Budget workshop, and Saturday morning I attended the legislative forum over here at the Arts and Convention Center, and
that was fun.
Senator Dickey and Representative Shipley and Helena Hayes was all three there.
Well, they all were there.
They were all there, yes. Mr. Dickey had to leave right at 9 o'clock.
And it started
At 7:30.
At 7:30. Oh,
Yes,
okay.
yes.
It was there
Yes.
longer than I would have anticipated.
Me too.
So it was a fairly decent turnout. I'm guessing maybe 50 people there.
I know the answer to this, but I just want to know.
Yes.
Did you feel like you accomplished something?
No. I did talk to Hayes afterwards a little bit. I've got to get back to her on some things. But they just sat and listened basically, and I'm on Zoom, so thank you.
Good job. So, let's see. That was last week, right? I went to Iowa City and I got eye injections for joy. I did go to the Cattlemen's Association as well. Very, very, very well attended. I mean, they were parked clear out to 200th Street. It was packed. And food was excellent. I can't believe that they get $150, $200 for a pie, but they do.
It's a fundraiser.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's, and Representative Shipley bought a,
Gooseberry,
pie.
and he bought 2 pies, I think.
okay. And I have no idea what gooseberries are. All that I want to know, but just saying.
In the late summer, I'll show you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do what?
They're little orange berries.
Yeah.
Green.
The ones I always buy are, I don't grow them, but the ones I buy are orange, yellowish orange.
We don't let them get completely ripe
Oh.
before we pick them.
Those are green, you only pick them.
Okay, fine.
We'll have a training.
I missed a doctor's appointment
Hmm.
on Friday, which that's what that phone call was for, is to tell me I'd missed.
Oh.
But anyway, and we had budget meetings, so that was, we did have a conversation regarding a potential resolution / agreement with the city that I did. After discussing with the board, I did email it to Abby to get it in resolution form, so we'll see what, if anything, comes to that. And public comments. Yes,
So Susie, I just wanted to, give you guys a little update on avian influenza. We had a Zoom meeting last week with our
Is
state
that
partners.
bird flu?
Excuse me?
Bird flu?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. We had a Zoom meeting last week with our state partners. At this time, we just continue to have business as usual. The big risk is with, not necessarily with chickens or fowl and chickens or turkeys and CAFOs, it is wild birds and their migratory patterns. So don't come in contact with any wild birds. I mean, seriously, that's where the majority of cases are coming from in California. And then the avian influenza has also transitioned over to the dairy herds. And that's where they're seeing the biggest numbers out in California right now, so.
So if I'm going to Iowa City, I should not avoid going down Kirkwood and on the Pleasant Bend Road where there are like 5,000
Well, you can
Canadians.
drive there, just don't go like pick them up, and especially if they're dead.
Don't go out and
Do not come in
chase 'em.
contact with any dead.
Yeah, don't go mouth to mouth, okay?
Um,
I mean, if you hit it, just leave it
Anyway.
like.
Nobody wants to
Um,
use ice.
They did make a reference though with, remember a few years back with H1N1 and how it was related to the swine flu of the 70s and how people were not able to receive the H1N1 vaccine if your birthday was, I think that was before 59. I don't know, that was a couple of pandemics ago. Anyway, so it's just interesting to watch because people don't realize the zoonotic relationship of illness to humans. So at this point, just business as usual, but do not come in contact with any, dead waterfowl. And the thing about, I wanna come back to this, so animals in confined feeding operations, regardless of the animal, they are, medically taken care of with veterinarians and they're monitored. In the instances with the humans, testing positive for the avian influenza is because the humans are not wearing the appropriate personal protective equipment. Glasses, gloves, they're not washing their hands well. So again, it goes back to the human component and being responsible and taking care of yourself. That's it. If I know anything else, I'll let you guys know.
So I'm just real quickly, so if you've got domesticated pet that comes upon a dead bird and they decide to play with it, can they get,
At this time, they're just seeing it in the cattle population, but that doesn't mean that it couldn't be in something else, but we're not gonna spread like mass panic at this point, but there's not been any transmitted cases that way at this time. Doesn't mean it won't happen. That really wasn't discussed the other day either, so, yeah, that's a very valid question. Cause we know how dogs and cats like to chew on things and get access to things, so. Anything else?
I think we see Brett on there in his picture.
Yeah, hey Lee, can I just, I guess as a
Smile,
public,
you're on candid camera.
Can't hear you.
He's not muted, it's your.
I'm not,
Cause they have this little symbol in the corner, if they're muted.
It's not muted
Oh,
here.
we've learned something.
can you hear me?
We have a pro.
We've done a lot of Zoom.
Can you hear me?
You think it needs to go back to the other view?
Oh, now,
Now he's muted. There.
Can you hear me now?
no,
That's,
Hold
huh?
I don't,
Hillary.
Hillary says she hears him.
Oh,
we just can't hear him.
can you go to the other view where it's just the room and then the speaker? I don't know. Sometimes weird things go on. I don't know, it's worth a try.
Your volume that low, that thing?
There's something that's turned a little bit, you know? Right? Everybody plug your.
I think everybody that's online can hear me.
Oh, I don't know.
No, I had a Zoom, but
We don't. We are the IT people.
You know, I see
She is
so,
our IT people.
I see so many eagles out eating good stuff.
So, yeah.
try it again.
I mean, a
Can you
lot.
hear me? Hello?
Did you pay your electric bill, Brett?
I don't think he can hear us at all.
He can hear you.
Well,
Let's get an update again.
What about now?
Answer your phone, Brett. I'll call him, put it on speaker.
Yeah? Hello?
Hey, I'm gonna put you on speaker phones, Joe Ledger.
With your program in there, but mine says I'm unmuted.
Okay, well, we've had some trouble here, Brett.
All right, so I
So
won't
I
take
will
up
take
your,
up your,
much of your time. I just wanted to know, Susie didn't report on, we did have an EMA commission meeting last Wednesday night. She was on the phone for that, so we had a quorum there. We went through a budget work session. We talked about various things. I just thought it's important that if anybody's got any questions on what EMA is doing, that it should be reported at your meeting.
Hey, Brett, can you hear me?
I can.
Dave's back. We talked about the south door, and I know that you brought up the security system, the card system or whatever. So at some point, he's going to get bids on the south door, and he recommended that we talk to different security companies and whatnot, so probably gonna pick your brain.
That's fine. My suggestion was if you're gonna have to put a whole new door in, that you at least get it quoted. You don't have to do it now, but that's something that's gonna be able to accept a electronic access for security reasons.
Right. And I agree. I think it probably, what we're looking for. Financially, if you're doing it, it obviously is cheaper now than trying to retrofit it later on. And I think when I talked to Dave this morning, if I understood him correctly, we'd already taken those steps with the north door.
Okay.
So, but I
Yeah,
just
I mean,
wanted you to be in the loop.
anybody can reach out to me. I have several contacts of people that do that.
Okay. I may have him give you a holler then.
Okay. Anyway, is there any questions on for me? EMA stuff?
No, you're still gonna get, as far as you know, the EMPG grant?
Yeah, the EMPG grant, we've sent a notice of interest. It's still coming, but we've lost, we went from about 20, we've lost some funding there. The federal grants continue to go down. I talked about this several years ago, that grant is either gonna go away or it's gonna continue to go down. So we're down we're about $25,000. That's an organizational work plan that I write to Homeland Security every year. And we have to follow that plan throughout the year. If we complete everything in there, which includes county exercises, training, daily work schedule, everything that's required from emergency management coordinators to meet Homeland Security's what they want us to do. But it's went from about 25,000, estimated to be 20,000 next year. So it's going down about $1,000 or so a year. Even though we're required to do more work, the FEMA money, the federal money is going down.
So I got one other question, which I'm fairly confident I know the answer to, but since it's budget time, which you don't have anything, I mean, you do and you don't, but from a budget perspective, it doesn't affect you, but I'm curious about how important is it for us to belong to hazmat?
Well, depends on the number.
Fair question, but
It's very important to belong to hazmat. We just had this discussion at a district meeting. Depends on, we use hazmat. Well, your local fire department uses hazmat more than anybody, but we use them 4 or 5 times a year. Now you got to understand if they're responding to us and we don't belong, they charge you per hour all the other rates, and it can get very expensive. That's why you contract with them. So, if I have to call them on a question or have them respond, it's covered by what we're paying now.
so go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Wasn't gonna say anything.
I was just gonna say our per capita right now is a little over $16,000. And, we look long and hard at things, and that's why I'm asking the question.
Right. I think the hazmat, the SERG team, we feel very comfortable in what they do for us. Now every year you're probably not going to get that, but you also got to remember they do trainings. I mean, they do a training for us in our county every year for hazmat ops refreshers and stuff like that, that I actually, they charge for that, but we pay that through a grant process. But some years you're probably not getting it, but most years it's probably worth the money. I mean, they are our technical team, the closest to us. If we need them here in a half an hour, they're going to be here for something major.
Right, okay. It just gives us more information when we're sitting down, penciling things out as to where we need to be or where we can go or where we can't go. So
Now, some counties, most counties run that through the Board of Supervisors. Some counties have their emergency management run it through their budget.
Right. Okay. Any other questions for Brett?
Thank you, Brett.
Thank you.
Any other public comments? Hearing none. Excuse me, you had an opportunity to look at the.
Claims, yes.
Yes.
Did you?
Yes, I did.
All right.
I would entertain a motion to allow claims and approve reports.
So moved.
In the amount of how much?
I don't know, I'd have to look at it and see. Okey dokey. I would entertain a motion to allow claims and approve reports in the amount of $140,149.10.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Joe? We have a budget work session. Who will meeting with?
Right.
Right.
Shannon.
Do we need I do, just basically,
We need you to leave the room.
yeah.
Do we need to adjourn?
Yes.
Start again.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, what time do we want to come back? 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, motion to adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We will reconvene at 9:45. I'll just make it official and call this budget session in order. Taking the three chambers from Veterans Affairs and General Relief. Is Christie coming in or? Oh, no, okay,
I assume.
okay.
You want to wait on her?
Do we need, Abby, do we need the sheets?
While she's getting that, I think y'all saw the note on Wapello County got rid of their veteran service officer. So I drafted up a 28E for 90 days and had Chauncey look at it. He made his corrections and I've got that back. What I'm thinking is Fridays, I'll go over there on Fridays so it doesn't disrupt anything here. I may do
Thanks for having me.
one or two Thursdays. And if that happens, I'll take vacation time here and go there a lot for type of expense.
So my suggestion, maybe doesn't hold water when you're gonna be gone, could you post it on your door that you're out or over to Wapello County or something?
Yep.
So if somebody comes up, they'll see it, not wander around the courthouse.
Yeah,
So,
I do post when the office closed.
do you? Okay,
Yeah, it's
okay,
right, it's right on the doors.
okay. Well, I don't
People
go in
check
there
in with
except
us
to
too.
visit with you.
Yeah,
People check in with us too.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So Ray, before we get into your budget, I got another question. You know, because of the change in the mental health services system and so on and so forth, you know, before when you were out, you know, you'd post on the door that someone who needed, you know, rent assistance or you know, whatever, that they could talk to Sandy and or Leah.
Yep.
So that circumstance, obviously, especially with Sandy's retirement, is changing.
Right.
Any plan or idea, anything that you have as far as, or are we just gonna?
I
Write it
suppose
out.
I could leave with the auditors, the form.
Do we really have and I'm not trying to shortchange anybody. Obviously, when you would come back, they would say, hey, Ray, we had so-and-so. Did you see a lot of that?
No,
Okay.
I mean, Sandy and Leah, when I was gone for the week, funerals were the big thing. They do, you know, maybe one or two, sometimes three funerals. But that comes and goes.
Right.
Right now, funeral budgets on the GA side is getting thin. But I mean, the GA side, you can't predict.
Right.
You know, I've tried to do it for 15 years or there just isn't any projecting.
Like I said, I don't know. I don't know what circumstances are going to be for. You know, how things work out with Sandy's retirement.
Yes.
I don't know what it's.
I don't foresee any big problem here.
Okay,
I mean, cause the most that I'm gone is a week, 4 days, like, you know. Like when I was gone the whole time, there wasn't anybody.
right.
For the 2.5 weeks I was gone there at Christmas.
And I know you gave Darcy some paperwork for an individual who came in with, or at least, I don't remember if it was a check or what it was. I know she came in, she was concerned, but you'd already planned for that
Oh, okay.
contingency, so.
I can't remember what that was. GA budget for 2026.
I'm just,
Actually, both of my budgets really don't change except for the salary and the FICA and the IPERS. For the general relief, I would like to move $6,000 out of the rent and utilities section and put it in the funeral services. My whole budget, I really don't have to move money around in the budget as long as I don't go over the overall budget. Because they're on this, in the same section, I suppose you'd call it. What I've projected there was the high that was talked about as far as the salary increase of 6%, so. Obviously, if you guys decide lower, it'd be lower.
and you're moving a lot into rent and utilities payments?
Moving $6,000 out of the rent and utilities payment and putting it into the funeral services. So the rent and utilities will go down to 30,000 and the funeral service will increase to 24,000.
Ray, I have a question.
Yep.
When you're going back and forth to Walpo County,
Yep.
are they paying your travel?
We haven't discussed money yet. We haven't discussed wage and hour, but I figured I'll make the wage big enough that it's included. in
Okay,
it, you know,
okay.
Compensating me
Yeah, because
for
I don't want you.
the mileage, the
Right.
food and
Right,
the time.
right.
you know.
Where will you be housed at up there?
I think it's called the Wapello Building,
Okay,
Sit down on the,
Main Street. It's down on Main Street. It's kind of right behind where the canteen is on Main
Right,
Street
right,
there.
right.
You know,
place to have lunch.
yeah,
Well, you know, if we need some canteens, we can just call.
there you go. You can call
Yeah.
it, you know.
Yeah.
It may be cold Monday by the time I get there.
Take
It'd be
another,
old today if you walked across the street.
They would.
another good place to eat is, oh, yeah. Out west out there,
Recovery room.
recovery room,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. They got, another good face.
They do.
I thought it was biscuits and gravy, mate.
They
Oh,
do.
no,
They have that
they have a
too.
good lunch.
Yeah.
Yeah. They
And the
have good
gravy
breakfast
is
too.
phenomenal, and the mashed
Where's
potatoes.
the recovery?
You go on Old
Right.
34 toward Eddyville and just before you leave
Yeah.
town, just before you take the road that goes back up to the airport, it's right there. On the right hand side.
Yeah.
It's a bar, but they got great food.
Well, I presumed it was a bar, call it recovery room.
Yeah.
You know, Tom Arnold owned that building at one time.
Oh, did he?
Oh,
I just
Wow.
always kind of found it, creative because you're eating something that is gonna plug your arteries, but boy, it's good,
Oh,
which there
it's
is a
good.
recovery room, so it's all good.
yeah.
All right, so.
You have any questions?
What percent raise did you plug in?
I plugged in the
A 6?
a 6% raise there, yeah, but you know, of course, it's whatever you guys figure
Yeah.
out. So,
Thank you.
let me see. As of October, total compensation, pension, survivor's pension, and what's called DIC, which is dependency indemnity compensation that is paid in the county was $418,625 a month. That's federal dollars coming into the county through the VA.
How much did you say that was? For what?
418,625. And that is paid altogether. There's 229 people or 229 claims that are being paid out of that. That does not include medical. You know, everybody that's in the VA hospital or the VA healthcare system.
This amount came into the county?
Every month.
It's a set price or it fluctuates with
It
the,
fluctuates with,
with,
in fact, I know I just saw December's and it was up 2,000 or 3,000 because of claims that were approved. You know, of course, when people die or when people leave the county, then that moves.
does it pretty much stay pretty average of this? Does it?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it's just right under 500,000 usually. But that's all good money that's coming into the county, you know, people spend here.
Any other questions for Ray?
Nope. Thank you.
All righty.
Appreciate it.
You guys all have a good day.
Well, I'll let you know about my hamburger.
Okay.
She
Wait
wants
till it's
every-
warmer, okay?
She wants everything on it.
She wants everything.
Yeah.
You can't get everything at the canteen.
On a plate with a fork and then you eat it out.
They only put ketchup and mustard on
And cheese
Really?
And pickles.
it. Yeah, they will put pickles, but no
But I
lettuce
just,
or
I'm
mayo.
just ketchup.
Been quite a while since I've had one of them.
I can remember we're going down on a Friday night or a Saturday night, little dingy yellow light on the outside of the door, and we'd go in and Dad would order, and we'd take them home in a brown paper bag, and by the time we got there, the grease was soaking through the bag, and it's still the,
Yeah, I was
taken
gonna
out of
say,
the
it's
brown
still the
paper
same.
bag.
Yeah.
Now they changed, the new owners changed the meat or something, it doesn't quite taste the same, but you can, if you want, you can, but it was just, there was a lot of chatter going on out there earlier.
Oh, here's the medical examiner. So these last 2 years have been just, the expenses have gone way up, and I don't know if it's because we've got the new investigators or I don't know why. The highest year we've ever had before was in fiscal year 13, $34,504. And last year, 50,000.
So I've got a question. And I'm sure you probably anticipate this question, maybe not specifically this, but are we required to do this?
Mhm.
And are we required to set a specific amount?
We don't set the amount. They bill us. It's the state medical examiner's office. It's the autopsies that's really gone up. And I don't know where the dollar amount is arrived at, but it's not anything we have any control over. They just send us the bill.
So if we don't pay it, then what?
I don't know.
They're gonna undo the autopsy? I mean, I'm not trying to be, but again, the operative word there you said was the state autopsy or the state
Yeah.
medical examiner's office. And I'm thinking, Let the state pay for it. We just don't pay the invoice.
And this year, I don't know, I'm hoping we have enough budget there. Got 45,000.
That's it to me, and obviously if we don't pay it, we don't spend it. In other words, if you put 45,000 in there, but if we don't pay the invoice, that doesn't get spent. Look, I mean, we've got to push back somewhere.
That's right.
I agree, but maybe not with this.
Why, it's state.
Well, just because it's state, we don't need to push back. We need to push back on things that we can do better on.
Well, okay, but in this particular instance, what I'm saying is that if we don't have any autopsies, then we don't spend any of that 45,000.
So
So
if there, if, are you saying if there's a light year, like maybe it's only 10,000
Yeah,
next year,
but-
then
but
that
what-
extra money
but
isn't
when they're
spent?
sending us an invoice for $1,500,
Oh, he's saying not to pay the
not to
bill
pay
that
the
they're
invoice.
sending.
That's
Yeah.
not, sorry.
You know, because it's coming from the state medical examiner. And why should the state be able to shift the burden to us? First
Well, it's
off,
our medical examiner that's ordering the autopsy.
well, it's not really our medical examiner.
It is, you guys appointed him.
Well, but so did a lot of other counties. It's not just our medical examiner.
Well, just us in Wapello County. And you guys appointed the medical examiner investigators, and they're the ones determining whether there needs to be an autopsy or not.
And we pay them
Yes,
as well as this.
yep. We pay them to determine whether there should be an autopsy or not. And then we pay the state medical examiner's office when they have, when our investigator determines that there needs to be an autopsy. And the investigators are appointed by you guys, and so is the county medical examiner.
So year to date. We spent almost $22,000. $21,655.
I guess I'm looking at the.
No, that's
Yes,
total budget.
yes, that's
That's
right.
total.
No, that's how much we've spent. You're right.
Yeah. And we're on path, or whatever you want to call it, to spend the $45,000.
Yes, which is much high, like I said, before the high year was fiscal year 13, that's, over 10 years ago, and it was 34,000.
I just,
It's these last 2 years has been just a lot more.
Have you seen an increase in the number of cases or just raised the costs?
In the number of cases. And we do have some new investigators, so I don't know if they're a little more cautious in saying that it doesn't need to have an autopsy.
so if a family member says, I want an autopsy of my loved one, because I don't believe they died as a result of, who bears the expense for
I
that?
think the family member has
Yeah.
to then. I think we only pay for it if it's ordered by our medical examiner at the recommendation of our investigators.
Do we ever get we've never asked these questions before, and it's, I guess, maybe we should have, or maybe I should have, but do we get an accounting, so to speak, as to why an autopsy was ordered?
No, the county attorney's office might, because like occasionally I would get one that was a little bit more than usual. And I would talk to the attorney's office to make sure if that sounded right, if they needed an extra, a drug test that they don't normally do or something like that.
So let me come at this from a different direction. So let's say instead of budgeting What'd you decide you were gonna?
I was asking for 51
Okay,
since
so-
last year was just over 50,000.
Okay, so. for
Still
sake-
feels kind of conservative compared to what we've spent the last 2 years.
Okay, so we go into the budget 51,000. If we budget. I forgot how I would ask the question. If we exceed the 51,000, then what?
Budget amendment.
So there really is no potential end to it.
Not that I'm aware of.
I just.
People stop dying.
Huh?
People stop
Yeah.
dying.
Yeah, no, I get it. I don't know. I guess we can revisit it. I mean, it is what it is, what she's got budgeted at this point, but
And I don't know, sometimes the transports are more than others, and I could look and see if it's dependent upon who does the transport or, because sometimes they do have different funeral homes do the transports. I can look into that a little more, and maybe our medical examiner can use one of the whichever one's cheaper more often. I haven't noticed a trend as far as how much each one is charging, but
So they normally use a funeral home to transport them to
yeah,
Ankeny?
yeah, and that cost has gone up too, but likely just because the number of transports has gone up.
Is there anybody on Zoom?
that's just one of those expenses that we're mandated to cover. We have to start pushing back somewhere. Because otherwise, what's gonna end up happening is that you're gonna cut services somewhere else to stay within the scope of your revenue stream. And then that, not that this doesn't directly impact, I guess, but I'm talking about if you end up cutting the amount of rock that you put on, or you eliminate a maintainer route, or you eliminate a deputy, or, you put your folks in harm's way because now we're only gonna run 16 jailers instead of 18 jailers. I mean, at some point, those are things that you're gonna take a look at if you don't start pushing back in some of these other areas.
I just don't want us to lose our medical examiner because we don't have people wanting to do it. We had a hard time finding one when we got him to do it, and
Yeah, but this
I
isn't
think-
actually for the medical examiner, this is for the autopsies.
no, but he's the one ordering the autopsies, so are they gonna come back on him if we don't pay the bill?
Well, maybe we need to have a conversation with the medical examiner.
Maybe.
I mean, my point is that, it's real easy to spend somebody else's money,
Mhm.
which is exactly what potentially is happening. And so the question is it, I don't know. I mean, when I say, is it necessary for this autopsy to be done? Obviously, I am not a person who's qualified to make that determination. And I get that, and I understand that. But it's like you said, it seems like for some reason that, the cost just continues to rise exponentially. So what's it gonna be next year, 60,000?
Do you wanna meet with the investigator or the actual medical examiner?
Well, which one do you think it would do us the most good?
Probably the investigators,
Okay.
just because they're the ones making the determination.
So I just have some questions. Why do we do these autopsies? Why do we do them?
To find out if there's,
There was foul play or
Yeah.
something,
Right.
yeah,
which would help the police department, which would help the county attorney. I personally think, gotta be real careful here.
No, I don't disagree with you, but the question is, how do we go up $40,000?
Have you been to the grocery store lately, Lee?
Well,
we didn't go up 40,000.
well, no, but I'm looking back here, at, I'm talking at, well, okay, so in 22-23 it was 34,000. So that's a $17,000 increase.
Yeah, and I suppose that depends on the number of people killed on the railroad tracks or accidentally, whatever.
Yeah, but we're not getting an accounting of why.
Then maybe we should get an
We,
accounting of,
I mean, you guys aren't, but maybe the county attorney's office or the sheriff's office
uh-huh.
are.
See,
Yeah,
I hate to plug in an
Yeah.
abstract number
yeah,
because it'll always get used. The more you plug in, the more it gets used. It just works that way.
yeah, because it's available, let's spend it. It's like when you were a kid,
Yeah,
there's so much money.
They don't even get this number.
okay.
Mhm.
They don't even know what this number is.
Do you have a count as to how many was performed?
I can get that.
I guess curiosity.
Yeah.
That way we can figure out about what it's costing for autopsy.
And
It's,
what really frosts me
about
is this is coming
2,000.
from the
Is it
state.
about two?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Lee, I agree with you, but we've got
What I'm
to,
saying is that you would think that the state would try and control their costs.
oh, I think they are trying to control their costs.
but it's like I said, it's not the state making the determination on whether there's going to be an autopsy or not. It's your medical examiner investigators that you appointed and making the recommendation to Dr.
mhm.
Quinn, your medical
Sure.
examiner who you appointed.
So let me come at it from a different angle. So are we saying that we had $17,000 more worth of more autopsies, or the cost of the autopsies has gone up $17,000?
I will look into that, but in my experience, the cost has not gone up
Okay,
for the autopsies. It's the
Mhm.
cost of, it's the number that has gone up.
well, I would, even if we don't change anything, I still would like to talk to a medical examiner.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
to
would like
Dr.
to-
Quinn or the investigators?
Or you said which one did you say?
The investigators?
Yeah.
Is he the one that determines the autopsy, investigator, or?
Yeah, the investigator is the one that goes out to the scene to determine whether there needs to be an autopsy.
Okay,
And then they make a recommendation based on what they're seeing to Dr. Quinn, the medical examiner, who makes the ultimate determination
Do
on
we
whether.
ever get, excuse me, do we ever get reports that said we did 12 of these this month or 2 last month or? Because,
We get a bill from the state medical examiner's
Uh-huh.
office for an individual.
Mhm.
And it says what they did, what
uh-huh.
services they performed on that individual to determine the cause of death.
And again, I am not in a position where I can make those determinations, and I'm not necessarily finding fault. And I suppose that if I were in that position and I wasn't sure before I stated a cause of death, that I would want somebody to check, because I don't want to get it wrong. I understand all of that.
We might just have a lot more people with an uncertain cause of death recently.
Well, yeah, if we can, for me personally, and it's up to the other two as well, so if they don't think it's necessary, but I don't think it would hurt to have a conversation.
I agree with you, Lee, we should. Of course, with the last COVID pandemic and stuff, are they doing more of that to determine if it's something to do with that? I guess we need to have the conversation.
So are you wanting to meet with Dr. Quinn or the investigators?
Well,
or
you said
what?
the investigator probably
Yeah.
would be, yeah. Yeah,
probably be easier to get one of them
because
in
he's just
here.
following more or less their recommendation or their request.
I think they provide him with the information to make the decision.
Right.
I think it'd make us more aware of how this works.
Anyone in particular, or?
Well, the only one I know of that's been on the longest is Teresa Tavera, but I don't know who else has been there.
Mark Haggis has been on the longest,
Yeah,
but
he has.
yeah, he's got some health problems, I think.
Yeah, I think he
So-
probably would defer to,
Teresa.
and if there was any questions, she could reach out to him. I just don't want to put Mark in it.
Yeah. All right, so move on to the next one.
Yeah,
This one.
we may come back to that and roll the dice on that and lower it. We may not. I don't know. Steve. Thank you.
Me,
What?
the one I owed.
Thank you.
So you're recommending 119,170?
Abby fills this one.
Yeah. 117.
Oh, okay, let's see, 1,500, okay. Sorry,
This is, oh, that's with the 1,500. So, yeah.
okay. So 117,670.
Is with the revenue
Yeah.
supervisor permit.
Now, I know obviously this is another one of those things that can change significantly. But I'm looking at the year-to-date up to this point. Can we roll that back even more?
You can.
That's just- Oh,
But I'll remind you what Shannon said last year, that if I go over that budget, then you're getting into your,
Reserves.
yes, thank you. I was like, I don't know where that word is, the reserves. It's not like new money can be generated for that. It's the same situation. You have no idea.
right.
And if there's any budget left that's not expended, she's not gonna go out and buy a car with it.
Sure not.
Well, I don't know the way she
It'll,
gets
it'll
it
go
back
back
here.
into the reserves.
Shame on.
Very limited on what we can spend this budget on.
I mean, I agree, the year to date, even the prior years on some of those lines, you could say, yeah, let's roll it back, but it's one of those situations, again, that you just don't know.
And it takes a month to get a budget amendment through, so.
There's sometimes things that are out there that we don't know about. I can't think of the lady's name, but she held a bill for like 3 years and then panic ensues because that's 3 years worth of billing that we didn't know was happening.
There ought to be a statutory limitations on that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, we're locked into annual budgets and. Well, $23,000. Figures less than previous budget.
I mean, if you want, you could. Like, if you look at your guardian ad litem fee. A couple of years ago was just under 30,000, you could knock that down.
Well, you already have though, you cut it by
10,000,
10,000.
could knock it if you want.
Have you seen an increase since, do you remember when the assistant county attorney told us that there was going to be some new
For the indigents.
charges for, yeah, have you noticed that yet?
That is that last line, the guardian conservator, that's kind of
Okay.
the line that I've been paying out for the adult. The indigent adults essentially, even though
So
this.
it probably has gone up because you were budgeting only 2,500
Yeah.
and you spent last year 6,400.
But then you look at this year and there's nothing spent.
So
It's
far.
literally just, we're halfway through the year and I've spent no money out of it. You look at budget for the detention and shelter. 2 years ago, we were at 98,000 and that was only because of the two juveniles. But when you look at those 2 years, 9,600 and 2,300, still 50,000 seems like a lot. It's literally,
Yeah,
I.
need a crystal ball.
Mhm.
Well, I guess we'll leave it for now and then when we see what our bottom lines are, we may have to come back and make some adjustments.
I mean, you could, those two lines, the 50,000 and the 60,000 line, you could do. I would wanna stick closer to 30,000 on the guardian ad litem, just because that is the one in particular that. We use the most. Juvenile detention and shelter, it again depends on kids
Right.
getting in trouble, but you could drop that down to 25 or 30,000. It's just, it doesn't matter to me,
No, but
but
then if you run into a situation,
which happened in that year, was it 2021? When obviously there was no way to know that those students were going to do that, and you have $105,000 bill like that.
Lee, I think we should leave it as it is and come back to it if we need to.
yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah.
It just frosts me. Those are all state responsibilities.
I've got a question here. The buildings and rent, that stays the same. What are you renting?
In Wapello County, I would have to pull the bill, but we get charged for the year to use space there.
Because we have to, we share the guardian ad litem,
Probably.
so, and they're housed there,
Oh, they're housed there. Okay. All
at
right.
least part of the time.
All right. Just curiosity, I wanted to know. Thank you.
This is for the Rocky Branch Creek watershed. And we got a request from Doc Woody for $500. That comes straight out of their fund from the taxpayers in that area.
Explain to me what that is.
They have some structures to help control the watershed.
They think there's gonna be some repairs that's gonna have to be done.
Well, no, it's just, here, I'll read what he said. The Jefferson County Soil and Water Conservation District Commissioners request the amount $500 for fiscal year 26 to be used for mileage and expenses for inspection purposes for number 15 Rocky Branch Watershed Fund. There's a fund that's completely separate from the county funds that we can levy. We haven't levied for probably 15 years at least. There's about $14,000 in that fund, and they can use it for repairs to the structures. They have talked about doing away with it and redistributing that money out to the taxpayers in that area, but sounds like they're wanting to continue with it for one more year at least.
And that'd come out of that 14,000.
Yep.
Where is that exactly? Do you know?
Yes, I do. Rocky Branch is out where Adam Ledger lives. That area where Ingwalls are, Charles Ruby.
All right, that's Department 99. And I have some good news on this one for you. Fiscal year 26 is your last year paying on the bonds for the Osage Road project and the courthouse project. You still have through fiscal year 35 on the tuck pointing and ambulance.
What about, Pleasant Plain Road, Packard Road, Whitfield Road, Jefferson Road?
Oh, actually, that's what that one is. That label is wrong.
Okay,
I'm gonna make a note to change that.
What year did you say the tuck point got to?
It's actually not tuck pointing. That label is wrong on there.
Okay.
That is this big road project, fiscal
Okay.
year 35. And this is the one that the road department uses to help show that they've met their local match. So we have through fiscal year 35 to have that for them.
so.
So this is showing your maximum possible for the general basic fund for revenues. The same rate as the current year for general supplemental. The same rate as the current year for rural. You'll still need to make a decision on the transfer for the secondary roads from the rural fund. And if you want to transfer any from general basic for that. I'm gonna get some better numbers from Mark on interest.
On the, I want to back on that. So the last year for courthouse and whatnot,
Yep.
you'll say. So once that goes off, then we lower the debt levy.
Yep. So next year, not fiscal year 26, fiscal year 27, we'll be able to lower that debt levy
Okay.
almost in half. And I budgeted the full amount of the opioid funds that you should have that year.
That's the 52, not
That's
60.
the 308,000.
Okay.
just in case you come up with projects that you want. I mean, you can't spend it on anything else. It's all in that separate fund,
Yeah, I
so,
just asked Christie if I got something for me.
okay.
That's what we're currently sitting on, or that's what's projected to be received?
We're going to get some more next year. Let's see. I have that here. Oh, there. Well, I don't have a total. Yeah, I do. $46,560.
Okay.
That's how much I think we'll get next year. And then I'll get an interest estimate from Mark on that. I put 6,400, but I think he can probably come up with a better estimate than that for us.
So,
Once he handles that.
it's not an inordinate amount, and I understand that, but speaking generic terms, any interest we receive is unencumbered funds? In other words, any interest we receive on encumbered funds, is that interest unencumbered?
For the ARPA money, yes.
Well, opioid funds.
Opioid funds, no.
So the interest we receive on the opioid funds
Has to go back into
okay,
the, yes.
I just wondered, whether or not our interest was unencumbered or not.
No, that one is.
Okay. Oh.
But since you brought that up, that ARPA money, the interest is unencumbered, and really, I think it would make a lot of sense for you guys to transfer that to the general basic fund. Because then you can use it for your necessary expenses,
And what do you mean by necessary expenses?
your general basic expenses, your regular operating expenses for the county. I don't think we have the funds to come up with some new big project right now. I think you should pay the expenses that you've got.
Like the door.
Yes. But I am working on fund balance numbers, so that'll give you a little more idea of what you want to do with it after you get that, I'm sure. I'm close on those. I'll have them available for one of your budget work sessions this week. The sales tax revenue is coming in good. Projecting 706,000 for next year on that. I think that's I feel confident we'll get that much at least. I'd say that's a conservative estimate for those revenues. For our 80% for the rural fund. There's something else too. That was it. Oh,
Don't worry.
the commercial and industrial code, that was the other thing I wanted to mention. That is on its way out. I think let's see, this year, we're gonna be getting about half of what we got last year, and we won't be getting anything next year.
What is that?
That's the commercial and industrial properties used to have 100% rollback. And now they have a 90% rollback. So that's replacement of that 10% that we used to get that we're no longer getting.
Okay.
And it's been, they've been phasing it out. You can see that in the general basic fund, for example, it went from 35,000 to 27,000 to 18, and our estimate for next year is 8. So they've been phasing it out.
Does that go way back to when they cut property taxes and that was part of the backfill?
Yep, that's the backfill.
Okay. And we were at what, about 75,000 out of all the funds?
That's probably about right,
Okay.
yeah.
So is that where the two-tier replacement is gonna?
No, that's the 2-tier is the replacement for the BPTC. Yeah, we don't get the BPTC at all anymore. Now they've replaced that with the 2-tier replacement.
Any questions?
It's been very informative, Shannon.
All right, well, let me know if you need
Maybe not
anything.
enlightening.
So I will see if I can get a hold of 360 Vera to come in and talk to you guys. Do you want to meet with her at your regular meeting, or you want to schedule a separate meeting, or try and do one of your budget meetings?
Well,
Lee, I would say it would be more up to what she can do. And we make that work.
But if it's a regular meeting, that's fine too.
Okay.
Whatever, like Susie said, whatever her schedule permits. Cause I don't know, I mean, she's in the emergency room, so I don't know what her schedule looks like.
Okay. All right,
Thank you.
that's all I have.
All right.
Done?
Are we done?
For today, yeah.
Okay. Any questions on these?
But no
I
way.
agree.
Well, no, we're all.
No, definitely.
No.
Okay. Any discussion you want to have? Any?
No, I'd like to know where you got your totally pink cup. We pay you too much money.
Clearly, she doesn't have to do
It's not
morning
name
workouts
brand.
because that's so heavy. That's,
Well, she needs to do two.
oh, well,
I have to.
yeah, you do. Different color.
Fraction
So,
of the cost.
well, you want to wait and see what any fund balances and stuff look like, or do you want to have a conversation about compensation board's recommendations?
I'd like to see where we're gonna end up at, so we kind of know what to do there. My thoughts. A rate come in this morning with a 6%, others was coming in with 7, right?
I think he misunderstood.
No,
I misunderstand.
I think he did. I think he thinks that the count board recommendation was set, 6.
Oh, okay. I know Steve said that he plugged in 5 in his. Lemmy,
He did.
at this, I don't disagree with you at all, Joe, as far as that part of it is concerned. And I don't know, our ending fund balances are. They're kind of hard and fast numbers, and they're not kind of hard and fast numbers, because ending fund balances at this point is kind of projections. But it gives us a warning. You know, what we have potentially, left over. But I also want to look at it in the context of what our actual revenue is going to be, where we're at on the 2%. All of those things, the taxable valuation is still a critical component because of the new formula. Because if we exceed 3%, the taxable valuation, then we have to roll back a levy a certain percentage. And if I understood Shannon correctly, if we do that, if we have to roll that back, we can't put it back at a later date. So I agree. I think we need to look at the numbers, but by the same token, if you've got a thought process in mind, then
I think we need to wait till we've got all the information we need.
okay. And that's fine.
I hate to say something and have to go back on what I had thought.
Sure.
So,
I just know, just to remind the board that and it was clearly nothing more than an estimate. About a 5% without IFRS and Social Security was about 360,000. And again, that's not a hard and fast number. Is there anything else?
we have a meeting coming up with compensation board again, right? Or am I dreaming?
Not that I'm aware
I'm
of.
dreaming, okay. That was the meeting we had back in December, right?
Yeah, we've
Yeah.
got,
No more.
we've got 4 tomorrow. And evidently now 2 on Wednesday. Because Chris moved, so we may not have as many tomorrow.
When do they start tomorrow? 8?
8, yeah,
When do they end?
noon.
4
Well,
o'clock.
probably a little bit. I didn't bring that in. It'll be a little before noon.
Okay,
Nice. I think
8
Chris
to 12 I
will,
got down.
that still works. out.
11-ish or something.
Yeah, and then I've got an INR appointment at 8 AM, but I'll be back for the 10 AM start, so. But I have to make that one, seeing as how I missed the last one. My book didn't tell me. I know you're supposed to.
Where's your
put that
appointment at?
Burlington.
Oh, you drive by Hardee's on the way there, right, or on the way back? You drive by Hardee's or on the way back?
Normally, yes, but because I have to be back here at 10 o'clock, I'm not gonna be able to stop.
Bring us cinnamon raisin biscuits.
They-
You know what?
they're
You can
doing
do a
maple.
stop and go and pick us up for breakfast.
They're doing maple now.
Oh,
I mean, I don't know, or something, I don't know that. Although they do have a new sandwich. It's a Frisco pulled pork. So. Anyway,
He'll still gonna stop. He's not gonna fool me.
he just won't share.
I know.
and since Sue didn't take ECI this year, I've got ECI this afternoon at 4 o'clock.
You know something?
And you don't feel.
I'm gonna
bad,
give you an
sorry.
award.
Yeah, well, so if we have nothing else, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And the second was in there too. It just, they were in harmonizing together. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.